President Joe Biden will travel to Poland from the 20th to the 22nd of February to mark the first anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The White House has said that the U.S. president would make it clear that the U.S. will continue to provide additional security and aid to the people of Ukraine. Biden will meet with Polish President Andrzej Duda and Eastern European allies. He will give a speech on how U.S. rallied the world to support the people of Ukraine as they defended their freedom and democracy. Russia's invasion of Ukraine will complete 1 year on February 24th.
Very clear that the United States will continue to stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. He will continue to call for the kind of international unity that we've seen, not just across NATO, but across the world, or not just across Europe. And I think he will certainly make clear that additional security assistance, additional financial assistance, additional help for Ukraine will be coming from the United States.
Poland is the main hub for refugees. Much of the Western military aid, especially from the United States, is funneled through Poland. Joe Biden is unlikely to visit Ukraine due to security concerns. Meanwhile, Ukraine has claimed that Russia has launched a new wave of aerial attacks ahead of President Biden's proposed visit to Poland. Strikes were reported in eastern Kharkiv, Donetsk, and western Ivano-Frankivsk. This comes a day after President Volodymyr Zelensky traveled to Brussels to lobby EU leaders for long-range weapons and fighter jets. In a video address, Ukrainian President Zelensky said that Russia launched 70 missiles, many of which flew through Moldovan and Romanian airspace.
Українці, українки, короткий звіт. Ворог сьогодні запустив щонайменше 70 ракет в черговій масованій атаці. Щонайменше 60 ракет збито. Їхні мішені були цивільні, цивільна інфраструктура, на жаль, були влучання, на жаль, жертви, мої співчуття рідним. Кілька російських ракет пройшли повітряним простором Молдови та Румунії. Черговий доказ того, що терор не знає і ніколи не знатиме жодних меж. Черговий доказ того, що захист України – це захист всієї Європи і світу, кожної країни, яка просто хоче жити.
Elizabeth Loras is a professor at the Pacific Forum and a former Fulbright scholar to Poland. She's just joining us live from Washington, D.C. Elizabeth, good to see you and welcome to the program. It's almost 1 year since the invasion began. With President Biden going to Poland, will that not irk or anger some quarters?
Well, going to Poland is the closest that President Biden can safely get to Ukraine. And it is extremely important for the administration to show resolve, that is U.S. resolve, in supporting Ukraine, as well as unity with the European Union. The other aspect is to push the Republicans' hand in the U.S. House of Representatives. Some Republicans have said that they did not want to continue to throw massive amounts of U.S. money at the war in Ukraine. And President Biden disagrees, and he needs to counter that resistance as this war continues on now for nearly a year. What we're seeing is a war of attrition, and that is the party that becomes more exhausted first loses. And so President Biden does not want the Ukraine side to become exhausted. He wants to help support that side so that Ukraine has a fighting chance in this situation.
Elizabeth, let's look back at the conflict right now. In your assessment, are there any gains that have been made so far? Some countries were questioning the supply of weapons to Ukraine, that it might be funding the war.
If we go back to the outbreak of the war, February 24th last year, it seemed like the Russians made significant gains quickly. And I don't think there's anyone who expected the Ukrainians to fight back as hard as they have. And the West, in fact, did hold back a little bit to see if Ukraine would put up a good fight. And when it became evident that Russia was losing massive amounts of tanks and men and materiel, and that the Ukrainians came back swinging, that's when the countries, the United States and the European countries, said, we need to back Ukraine. And so I don't think that the Ukraine supporters are feeding this war. It appears that Russia made significant early gains in the east of Ukraine and has held on to that territory. And so Ukraine has been successful in not succumbing. Remember, at the beginning of the war, Putin very clearly said he wanted to get rid of the government in Kiev. This was total all-out war to take down the government in Kiev. That has not happened. That is successful.
All right, Elizabeth, finally, in your own words, what will it take for the war to end?
It will take a lot of time and a lot of treasure in terms of life, blood, material, and finances.
Well said. I've been talking to a professor at the Pacific Forum and a former Fulbright scholar to Poland, Elizabeth Loris. As always, thank you for talking to WION today.
You're welcome.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.